She was born the 20th of 22 children to a poor black family in the segregated South and became one of the greatest athletes America ever produced. She refused to succumb to the polio that crippled her as a child. Instead, her strong will and determination helped her walk and then run to 3 Olympic gold medals in track and field. She's Wilma Ruldolph, an American woman of achievement.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let us march on till victory.
The Constitution of the
is won.
The 17th Olympic Games opened before a crowd of 100,000 spectators.
September 7th, 1960, a blistering hot day in Rome, Italy. The thermometer hovered near 100 degrees as a young African-American named Wilma Ruldolph stepped onto the track at Stadio Olimpico. In one short week, the shy 20-year-old from Clarksville, Tennessee, rose from an unknown to become a double Olympic gold medalist, taking the 100 and 200-meter dashes. Now she was on the track a third time, the anchor leg in the 400-meter relay. If she and her teammates won, Wilma Ruldolph would become the first American woman runner to take home 3 gold medals.
It was a lot of pressure because when you are an athlete, you are expected to do just so much. And you are expected to be a winner. And people expect that of you. And when you're not and you disappoint them, then you feel it.
It was at another Olympics, the 1936 Games in Berlin, Germany, that Wilma Ruldolph found a hero and inspiration. His name was Jesse Owens. At the time, Germany was under Nazi Party rule and the dictatorship of Adolf Hitler. Hitler was convinced his blonde-haired, blue-eyed German athletes were a superior race in intelligence and athletic ability. The dictator saw the 36 Olympic Games as an excellent way to show the physical superiority of the Aryan, or white race. As he sat in the stands of the stadium, there was no doubt in Hitler's mind his athletes would dominate the events.
Jesse Owens was the fastest human of his day.
Jesse Owens, an African-American from Alabama, shattered Hitler's vision, setting new world records and capturing 4 gold medals in the 100 and 200-meter dashes, the 400-meter relay, and the long jump. Furious at Owens' domination of his athletes, Hitler stormed out of the stadium, refusing to present the medals and shake Owens' hand. The 4 gold medals made Owens a hero, inspiring young athletes like Wilma Ruldolph to overcome personal obstacles and racial prejudice. Wilma Ruldolph was born on June 23, 1940, in Clarksville, Tennessee, the heart of the segregated South. The 20th of 22 children, Wilma was tiny and frail, the result of a premature birth. When she was 4, Wilma suffered double pneumonia and scarlet fever. Weak from the illness, she was diagnosed with polio, a virus that strikes the central nervous system. Spared the worst of the disease, the polio partially paralyzed Wilma's left leg. Doctors said Wilma would never walk again. With medical care limited to one black doctor in Clarksville, Wilma's mother took her daughter 50 miles away to a hospital in Nashville. Twice a week, the two rode the bus 50 miles each way to Meharry Medical College so Wilma could receive the difficult, painful treatments. The disability prevented Wilma from going to school with her friends, so a tutor periodically came to the Ruldolph house. At night, her brothers and sisters taught her what they had learned at school.
She was something like the pet of her family because she wasn't able to get around like the other children.
Finally, the day came when her mother wrapped up the steel brace and mailed it back to the Nashville hospital. Now 12 years old, Wilma was finally able to walk on her own. Free of her leg brace, basketball quickly became the center of Wilma's life.
She was a tremendous basketball player. She scored 50 points one game. And if basketball would have been in and given scholarships at that time, I would assume that she could have got a scholarship in basketball just as well.
The Burt High School team won the Middle East Tennessee Conference Championship and headed to the state tournament in Nashville. They lost in the second round, but from defeat came a golden opportunity for Wilma Ruldolph. Ed Temple was the coach of the Tennessee Tiger Bells, one of the powerhouse track teams in the country. In addition to coaching track, Temple umpired high school basketball games. It gave him a chance to scout new talent for his Tiger Bell track team. When he saw Wilma Ruldolph, he saw talent.
She had quickness, and she was a relaxed type person. Of course, now I didn't think she was going to be a great runner when I seen her play basketball. It's the fact that her coach, Coach Gray there at Burt High, had a girls track team, and they ran in, at that time, a segregated meet, which was for black high schools, and which was held at Tennessee State. And I seen her run then, and she was long, tall, skinny type of individual. But at that time, I didn't see nothing outstanding about her other than the fact that she was the best that we had around here.
At Temple's invitation, Wilma spent the next few summers attending his training camp, learning important basics, working hard.
We had to run up and down hills, and we had to run through mud, and we had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, because he felt that if you could get up at 5 in the morning, if you could run in the Tennessee sun at 12 o'clock noon, if you could run in the evening at 5, then, and in the rain, then nothing could stop you.
We didn't have time to do anything but go in the shower, take a nap, and get up and go to practice.
The grueling practices showed their worth when Wilma stepped onto the track of Philadelphia's Franklin Field. It was her first national meet, her first time out of the South, her first time in front of a large crowd. Ruldolph shook off the intimidating surroundings and put on a brilliant display.
She had these long legs, you know, and we knew that when she was making one step, we had to make 3 or 4 to keep up with her. You know, she had the speed, she had the strength, very strong. And that was one of the things that I noticed of her, that she was going to be good one day because of her height.
Soon after that meet, Wilma was invited to try out for the 1956 Olympic Games in Melbourne, Australia. On the last day of tryouts, Wilma still hadn't made the U.S. track team. She was down to her last chance, the 200-meter relay, where she would compete against Tennessee State teammate and Olympic veteran May Faggs.
Faggs had already made it in the 100. Wilma didn't make it in the 100. And so Faggs was talking to her, and so Faggs told her, said, now look, I want you just to lay right on my shoulder, because they was running the 200 and it came around a curve and come down the straightaway. She said, I want you to lay right on my shoulder, stay right on my shoulder, and if you do that, you'll qualify and make the team, because she said, I'm going to get first. You know, Faggs was a cocky little something all the time. Well, she had the experience and everything. And she said, I'm going to get first. Maybe you can get second or third, because they was taking the first 3. So with the gunshot, Faggs got out, Wilma got out, and as they come around the curb, coming down the straightaway, Faggs was out in front, moving. She was moving. And Wilma, with them long legs and everything, pulled up right beside her, and ran, I guess, for the last 75 yards, just right on Faggs' shoulder. I mean, right beside her. So as they finished, I mean, it was a photo finish. Faggs got first, Wilma got second. And as they were standing there, they were out of breath and everything. I came up and congratulated them both and everything. So Faggs turned around and looked at Wilma. She said, now, look, fool, I told you to stay on my shoulder. I didn't tell you to act like you wanted to pass me.
By staying on May Faggs' shoulder, Wilma Ruldolph became the youngest member of the 1956 Olympic team. And like her family, her new extended family watched over her too.
She was the youngest on the track team, and everybody saw about Skeeter. Where's Skeeter? Skeeter, you go do this. It's time to go, Skeeter.
May Faggs helped Ruldolph earn a berth on the Olympic team, but at the Games, it was up to Wilma to perform. She failed to make the finals of the 200-yard dash. Crushed at the defeat, Wilma briefly lost the will to compete. But as she watched the great Australian runner Betty Cuthbert sweep the 100 and 200-meter dashes, Wilma quickly renewed her spirit and drive. "I've got 4 years to get there," she told herself, "but I've got to work hard and pay the price." Work began the next day, when she was entered in the 400-meter relay race. Although young and inexperienced, her teammates were confident she could do the job.
I wasn't worried at all because Wilma had the speed, she was tall, and she was determined. She brought the baton to me, and of course I anchored that relay and I got it. When I received the baton, I was in 3rd place. And I just had to hold, I was pressured, because somebody else was coming up, behind me, but I was determined to keep it there or try to move up. So we was blessed to win a 3rd.
With an Olympic bronze medal around her neck, Wilma returned home to Clarksville, a star. The excitement soon faded, and Wilma returned to Burt High to finish school. She renewed old friendships and began dating her old boyfriend. But her promising track career was nearly destroyed with a personal crisis.
When she was a senior, getting ready to graduate, when she had her first child, and of course you got to realize in those days, 1958 and everything, that wasn't a popular thing. And she come from a community, Clarksville, Tennessee, which is about 50 miles from here. And I can understand the community start. Here's a young lady that went to the 56 Olympics, and the town turned out for her because she won a bronze medal in the 4x100 relay. They were proud of her in her high school, and which they should be. But now here they feel that she's just thrown away a golden opportunity.
With the support of her family, Wilma finished high school and gave birth to a baby girl, Yolanda. Temple supported Wilma too, waiving his standing rule against mothers competing on the track team. That fall, with Yolanda in the care of her parents, Wilma rejoined the Tennessee State Tiger Bells.
Now, I told her, well, now, you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to work hard. I said, now, I'm going against all my rules and regulations as far as bringing in a person that had a child. But she was determined, and you could see her in her face that she felt, well, I made one mistake, but I'm ready to make it up, and which she did.
Then, if you had a baby in high school, society kind of frowned on you, and you were sort of expelled from school and went into oblivion. But Mr. Temple saw that Wilma Ruldolph had something.
I think it was a good decision. I mean, when I look back at it now, I think it was one of the best decisions that I ever made.
Balancing motherhood, school, and the rigors of training was hard. But Temple refused to give Wilma special treatment. She soon developed a reputation as the woman to beat. Then in 1959, just before the crucial Olympic tryouts, Ruldolph began losing. Temple could find nothing wrong with his runner's technique. Both coach and athlete were baffled at the sudden losing streak, until Wilma was diagnosed with tonsillitis. Once recovered, she immediately returned to her winning ways.
In 1960, it was just Wilma's time. It was Wilma's time. Wilma moved up in 1960 when we went to the outdoor nationals in Corpus Christi, Texas. Wilma ran a 22.9. Well, at that time, the American record was about 24.1. Now, here a person ran 22.9. Well, first thing I thought, well, the track's short or the clock's wrong, everything got to be wrong because you don't knock off that much time in a winter. Then we went to the Olympics tryouts in Abilene, Christian, Texas, which was about 10 days after that, and she ran another 22.9. Well, we looked at each other and said, now something's wrong. Something got to be wrong. And when we sent the time in to the International Olympics, when they had the seat meetings over in Rome, they looked at that and they just shook their head and they just said nicely, well, we'll just table that time from the USA because we know they ain't ran that kind of time because their fastest time has been 24.1, 24.2, and here they say in a time for a girl named Wilma Ruldolph, 22.9. We know that's not right. Rather than just say no, they just said we'll table it. See, that's a nice way of saying no.
But as the Olympic Committee and the rest of the world were about to find out, Wilma Ruldolph's time was no mistake. Even an ankle injury right before the 1960 Olympics didn't stop Wilma. Young, strong, fast. Wilma Rudolph was in her best form ever as the Rome Olympics began.
Olympic Stadium in Rome, August 1960, and the 17th Olympic Games opened before a crowd of 100,000 spectators. In the women's 200-meter dash, it's Wilma Rudolph, the Tiger Belle from Clarksville, Tennessee.
When Wilma Rudolph saw that she was a star and that she did have the talent and she had the ability, because she ran like a gazelle, she was so beautiful. And once she started working with her arms and starting the legs together and the feet together and the leaning, then the confidence came automatically. And you couldn't beat her. You couldn't come close to her.
With 2 gold medals in the same events as her hero, Jesse Owens, the 100 and 200-meter dashes, Wilma desperately wanted a 3rd gold medal to establish a new American record for women runners and to honor Owens. Competition in the 400-meter relay race was stiff.
I knew we was running good, but I didn't know how they were going to fit in as far as when you think of 150 countries and great countries like Russia and Germany and Australia and all those countries. I had no idea what we was going to do.
Relay races are won or lost in a fraction of a second. One of the most important elements in developing the split-second timing it takes to win is the Baton Pass.
We practice that and practice that because it has to be perfect. You see, if a person runs up beside you, poor baton exchange. Mr. Temple had us with the arms back. 1, 2, 3. And when we had the hand back, that baton was in our hand. And if it wasn't, you practiced until it was. And that's how we practiced. I mean, we were split seconds. That's why we broke world record.
In the women's 400-meter relay, America's team is made up entirely of Tennessee State U Tiger Bells, anchored by the sensational Wilma Rudolph.
Wilma ran the anchor leg, the final leg of the 400-meter relay. Along with her Tiger Belle teammates, they set new records in the qualifying rounds, easily moving into the finals to face teams from the Soviet Union, Great Britain, Germany, Italy, and Poland. In the finals, Wilma Rudolph, the Tennessee Tornado, the fastest woman in the world, nearly made history for not winning.
When we started out, I guess we were in either about 3rd place or 2nd or 3rd. We passed off and we held it there. But when we got to Lucinda, when she got the stick, it was beginning to round out. But when she passed off to Wilma, the first time was she missed Wilma's hand.
While they were doing this, the other girls were running past. But because Wilma had that spirit, I'm going to win, she did.
If somebody could have timed her split in that relay from the time she got the stick to the time she finished, I think it'd still be a world record because she passed everybody in the first 75 yards. And from then on, it was just a matter of a breeze, because she was determined she was going to win that gold medal because her teammates hadn't won anything, and she had won already 2 gold medals, but she was determined, and I think she'd taken more joy in that relay than she did her individual events.
We're jumping up and down, and we're running towards the finish line, and when she came across the finish line, we were all there.
Barbara Jones, Lucinda Williams, Martha Hudson, and Wilma Rudolph had set a new world record of 44.5 seconds, and Wilma Rudolph had become the first American woman to win 3 gold medals.
She broke the world record and the Olympic record. I think the Olympic record was 11.2. She ran 11 flat. And the 200-meter record, I think she tied the 200-meter record, and they set a new world record and Olympic record in the relay.
Wilma Rudolph had made good on the promise she made to herself. She worked hard after the '56 Olympics. She paid the price. She was the fastest woman in the world. Rudolph became an overnight sensation. The French press dubbed her the Black Gazelle. The Spanish called her the Black Pearl. The Tiger Bells and Rudolph were in demand across Europe. So instead of returning home to victory celebrations with family and friends, the Tiger Bells ran again and again, taking on the same teams they defeated at the Olympics. Europeans went crazy over the American athletes, especially the Germans, who 25 years earlier had turned their backs on another African-American Olympic hero, Jesse Owens.
We was gone for about 2.5 weeks after the Olympics was over. because they wanted us to go to these different places, and everybody wanted to see Wilma. We got to Germany, and the Germans swore that she was a German because her name was Rudolph, and that's a German name, and they was claiming her and shaking the buses and taking her shoes before she got to warm up to run.
The attention on Wilma began to wear thin with her teammates. After all, it took 4 to win the gold medal.
It wasn't a jealousy, it was the fact that she kind of stood by herself after she started winning, because everywhere she would go, Wilma, Wilma, and so she wanted her privacy. And so she stayed by herself. Even when she was with us, she wanted her privacy because she never had any after winning the 3 gold medals. That was history. And if you know anything about Europe and the Europeans, they love you. And she would go to the hotel, they would be there at the hotel, they would be everywhere. So she wanted her privacy. And so it wasn't a matter of standoffish and didn't want to be around us. She just wanted her privacy.
Wilma and the other Tiger Bells finally returned home. Clarksville, the hometown that shunned her a few years earlier, now showered her with adulation and a grand parade. The parade marked more than a personal milestone for the young athlete. As she looked among the crowd, Wilma realized the parade was Clarksville's first integrated event. In true Olympic spirit, color barriers had been erased. African Americans and whites had come to celebrate and share in the triumph of Wilma Rudolph. The NAACP organized a national tour for Rudolph, and by 1961, she received many of the country's most prestigious athletic awards. She was invited to the White House to meet President Kennedy, and even made a campaign visit to Richard Nixon.
Wilma had a tremendous person. I mean, she was a person that could meet kings, queens, presidents, and everybody else and feel at ease, just like she'd be talking to you or me. I mean, she's a person that has a tremendous smile, great personality. This is the thing that I think sets her aside from everyone. I mean, that smile and that being able to get along with people. This was her great traits. I mean, she had a lot of personality, a lot of personality. She gets along well with people. Gets along well with important people and unimportant people.
Despite her incredible achievements, life was no easier for the heroine than it was for the girl from Clarksville. Unlike today's athletes, no commercial endorsements awaited Wilma. She couldn't even accept a pair of shoes.
I know the first time Adidas sent us 3 pairs of shoes. We thought that was the greatest thing in the world.
After the Olympics, Wilma Rudolph simply returned to the life she had been living before winning 3 gold medals. She returned to school, earning her degree in elementary education. And she continued to run, winning nearly every race she entered. The 1964 Olympics were on the horizon, and Wilma knew she'd have to make a decision about running. She worried that if she lost, people would remember her defeats and not her victories. So in 1962, after winning a major race against the Soviet Union, Wilma Rudolph retired.
Back in those times, after you graduate, there was nothing else to do but to teach or to raise a family because you wasn't getting no money. They didn't have no clubs. The Olympics at that time wasn't giving no development programs. There was nothing else to do. I'd say now, if Wilma was coming along now, she'd be still running because you got people running now. We got girls running 33, 34, 35. Well, Lord, when Wilma stopped running, she was 22 years old. 22 years old. She wasn't close to her peak. But there was nothing out there then. Nothing out there.
The Olympic community's loss was Burt High School's gain. Wilma returned home to coach the Burt High School track team. She taught 2nd grade at her old elementary school. She rekindled the romance with her old boyfriend, Robert Eldridge, marrying him in 1963. Over the years, they had 4 more children. She became a popular speaker, sharing with students across the country her challenges and triumphs. Kids need to know there's no such thing as a superstar, she'd tell her audience. Many think if they make it big as an athlete, their worries are over. I'm here to tell you they're just beginning. Today, Wilma Rudolph still fights. Diagnosed with lung cancer, Rudolph is in the race of her life. But the memories of a young girl from Clarksville, Tennessee, still live in the hearts and minds of those who saw her run.
Wilma is a strong young lady, not only physically, but mentally. If she wants something, If she wants to do something, she's going to do it. And most of the time when she does it is for the benefit to help somebody else.
Wilma Ruldolph, definitely, I would say, was the Jesse Owens of women's track and field.
She has worked with youth, and she's worked with us, and we've worked together, and she's always interested in helping others. And I'm just so glad that someone is finally seeing that she is, yes, one of the ladies of the century.
She fought off personal setbacks with grace, overcame failure through determination, and set the world on fire with her speed. Wilma Ruldolph, an American woman of achievement.